The new Riposte Sacred Seal has opened the way for some brand new skill combinations, and in this video I'm going to be covering a whole bunch of different ones and talking about how they might play out. So as you can see, I have sorted a ton of different B skills that I think can work with Quick Riposte, although obviously not all of them will be super effective all of the time. We have a category I'm deeming annoying to deal with, or utility skills. We have mixed phase skills, meaning these will try to give you something to work with for the player phase and the enemy phase. And then we have the defensive skills, which synergize super well with Quick Riposte because they make enemy phase builds even better. I will be briefly covering each skill you see here, but if there is a B skill or some magical whole new build I have missed, then please tell me about it in the comments. Now let's begin. First, we have Cancel Affinity, which is one of those skills that just isn't worth to have unless you need to counter one specific enemy type. For colorless units like archers, a major counter is the Raven Tome and Triangle Adept combo, and Cancel Affinity can completely flip that matchup around. Being able to use Quick Riposte as well is nice since someone like Innis here has decent speed, but can use it to ensure that he can get off 2 attacks all the time. An extremely niche skill, but it can work if Triangle Adept starts to bleed into other builds. Next, we have Wings of Mercy, and honestly there is no clear-cut synergy between these skills besides just being able to use both. I have just made a fun Churro build here, but literally any unit who uses Quick Riposte can make use of Wings of Mercy as well, and having more mobility options is never a bad thing. Similarly, Escape Route can be useful once Quick Riposte has done its job to give a unit 2 attacks. If they're on low health, then they can now fly around the battlefield during the player phase, which is really nice to have. I can actually see this being a fun combo that can also work on just about any unit. Next, we have Obstruct, which is pretty underused since it has to compete with other stronger B skills. At least now you have the option to take both, and now you can have a tanky unit block for your teammates and at least still carry Quick Riposte for a nice combat boost. I may try this out with my own Lucas in fact. The opposite of Obstruct is Pass, which I don't think is that bad of a skill, especially on Cavaliers. Unfortunately, like Obstruct, it has strong competition, so it never really is used that much. With Pass, you can have a unit who maybe can benefit from Quick Riposte, and if left untouched, they can then use Pass to dive into the enemy backlines. Be careful though, since Pass does have an HP threshold you need to uphold. Last, we have Wary Fighter, which can in fact be used with Quick Riposte, although it's an incredibly hard thing to set up reliably. Basically, Wary Fighter cancels out 1 guaranteed attack from Quick Riposte, which means the Wary Fighter user can double if they outspeed the opponent by 5. This isn't that great because if you have a high speed armor, then they should just be able to not get doubled in the first place. So while they can work together, I don't think the extra effort is really worth it overall. Unless, that is, you use Wary Fighter on Hector with his legendary weapon Armads. So most people think this is crazy because Armads already has a Quick Riposte effect. Wary Fighter cancels out one of those Quick Riposte effects, and the addition of the Quick Riposte Sacred Seal means that Hector still gets a guaranteed double attack. The crazy thing is that the enemy has no chance to double back because of Wary Fighter. The only way this is affected is if the enemy has their own way to guarantee a double, like Ephraim's upgraded Sigmund, or a unit with Axebreaker. If this happens, then things go back to a speed comparison once again. This is amazing for Hector in a few ways. First off, he basically has a universal type breaker effect against all other weapons. He stops them from attacking twice, and he gets to double back. This setup also shuts down Desperation from being a tactic to take down Hector at full health, since the enemy will only be able to attack 1 time. So while Hector needs to give up Vantage, he gains a ridiculous amount of survivability in a 1v1 round of combat. You have to literally one-shot him with something like Triangle Adept Red Mages, an Armor Slayer or Hammer, or use Axebreaker to defeat him in 1 round of combat. I don't think this combo is completely broken, but while everyone else can become Hector now, Hector himself has carved out yet another niche only he can do. Continuing on to our next category, Mixed Phase Combinations. First up, we have Windsweep, which will allow debuffers to get a free attack in, proc their debuffs, and then have Quick Riposte for the enemy phase. Someone like Female Corrin and her Dark Breath would be able to use this combo effectively since she is fast, and she will be able to debuff the enemy's attack and speed by a lot. Windsweep's sister skill, Water Sweep, works with the same idea, just for different weapon types. While I don't see Water Sweep much, I do think it might become a more relevant skill the more powerful dragons become. Their counterattacking abilities are insanely powerful, so being able to nullify that completely may be something worth looking into. Next, we have Bold Fighter, and using it with Quick Riposte will give a unit both a decent player phase and enemy phase. They'll get double attacks for any phase, and if Quick Riposte leaves them on low health, Bold Fighter does not have an HP requirement, so it will be good to go on the next player phase. Can't wait to see this in Arena on those distant counter armors, surrounded by 3 void armor skills. Next is Wrath, which can work with quick riposte because more attacks means more chances for specials to activate. On slower units, you could just use quick riposte to charge up your special and unleash a Wrath empowered special on the next turn. Wrath can definitely work during both phases, which is nice to have. Next, we have Desperation, which doesn't really synergize that well with quick riposte. It's just the more the idea of being able to use multiple B skills, which is very powerful. I could possibly see it working on a unit who can either find some way to get more speed after the first round of combat, or just wants Desperation to take out slower, deadlier targets, people like Hector, who we mentioned before. Here, we have the 4 movement type B skills: Hit and Run, Drag Back, Knock Back, and Lunge. Quick Riposte could pair on a unit who uses Hit or Run, or Drag Back and Retreat tactics, and my own Frederick could possibly use it. His high defense means he can take a few hits, and Quick Riposte will give him the opportunity to maybe get a kill on the enemy phase. I could also see Lunge working if you can stay in Quick Riposte range while trading spots with the opponent. Knockback is a little more tricky, and the skill itself is so rare to see. If you can make it work in a strategy, then good on you. Next we have Brash Assault, which, like Desperation, doesn't really have any synergy with Quick Riposte itself. It's an option if you want someone to double a lot during both phases. Maybe someone like Bartray could make it work. The Breaker skills could make a great combo with Quick Riposte. With a Breaker skill, you can completely shut down one type of weapon, and you can use Quick Riposte to retain double attacking against all the other types of weapons. So I think it will be a nice option to have, especially if you need that Breaker skill to cancel out second attacks from one weapon type. A lot of swords are really fast, for example, so being able to take less damage from them will be really nice, and you still have decent KO potential against other types of units. Lastly, I want to mention Wrathful Staff, and I bet some of you didn't even know healers could use Quick Riposte. While they probably want a better B skill like Wrathful Staff itself, being able to combo it with Quick Riposte can give your colorless mage some extra firepower if they can tank a hit. Jenny, for example, has excellent magical bulk, but is really slow. She can tank a few mage attacks and then return fire with 2 attacks of her own. Moving on to our last category, we have defensive skills. First up is Guard, which is itself a really good skill for tanks who can take a lot of hits, but don't want to charge the enemy's special for free. Micaiah is a really good candidate because she comes with Guard already, which helps defend against Moonbow, Quick and Pulsed Reinhardt. With Quick Riposte as a Sacred Seal, she will be able to double back against other types of units despite being able to one-shot Mr. Magic is Everything. Renewal is really nice to have because it can help a tank stay within Quick Riposte range after taking a few hits. It's a really simple, self-sustaining combo that could maybe pair well with a healing special on top of it. This could be a good combo for PvE content that has a lot of enemies you need to deal with, and Quick Riposte would help make sure you can kill them in one round. Finally, we have the infamous Hector special of being able to use Quick Riposte and Vantage together. This makes for one deadly enemy phase unit because once they punch through Quick Riposte, they then have to possibly deal with a charged special that will immediately proc through the Vantage. Quick Riposte is just nice to have to win more single matchups, and units like dragons will love this combo. I already see Vantage or Quick Riposte on all the dragons, so letting them have both is going to be a nightmare if you don't have a solid counter. The next few skills are unique to certain units, but I think Quick Riposte can help these guys out if they want to use their powerful abilities. Brave Ike can kinda work with anything, and personally I use Quick Riposte on mine because I like him to have more winning matchups outright. Yurik's Blessing is nice to have, especially with all the cavalry out there, and I think it's a good combo if you have nothing else to use. Next, I think Quick Riposte can work really well with Crusader's Ward because it's such a powerful tank skill when combined with Divine Tearfing. Celestad is a really well built tank because he can tackle both magical and physical damage just with his base kit. His speed isn't garbage, but Quick Riposte would give him a lot of KOs when he gets attacked by melee enemies. Last, we have Arvis and his Recover Ring, which is basically just a better version of Renewal. I like to use Fury on my Arvis personally, so Quick Riposte might not be the best skill to use. However, I think it can work with other skills since Arvis has decent resistance, but not the highest speed stat out there. My overall thoughts about the Quick Riposte Sacred Seal is that it is very good. Regardless of what it means for Arena or the meta, this is a really strong seal to have access to. It's a great seal if you don't have Quick Riposte fodder, and a lot of the combos I talked about are really strong for PvE content. It also has a bonus of not needing to be upgraded to tier 3 to get a huge boost from it. Even Quick Riposte 1 is a very useful skill to have, since if it does its job one time, then I think it is already worth its place on the build. Even though I think Vantage and Quick Riposte will be the most popular and obvious combo to use, there are a ton of different builds to try out now. We'll have to see if you will need new ways to counter certain builds, but if you can handle Quick Riposte normally, then you shouldn't have too much of an issue. Finally, I think Sacred Seals like Heavy Blade or Quick Riposte are just the starting point for a more hectic game. The more skills we get in that Sacred Seal slot, the crazier builds interactions will become, and eventually we may even see a Death Blow, Fury, or even Vantage Sacred Seals happen. Can you imagine Reinhardt with double Death Blow skills, or giving a Desperation Blade Tone Mage access to Vantage as well? I am hoping that Intelligent Systems test these skills out, and hopefully we won't have a situation where the game just becomes broken because one skill became a Sacred Seal. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new. Again, if you have a build idea that takes advantage of this new Quick Riposte seal, then let me know in the comments. I probably missed something obvious, and I didn't even consider builds using other A skills or C skills or individual units. Hopefully you guys can get this amazing Sacred Seal. That's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.